FX Nation, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And today guys, we're going to take a look at pound USD and we're going to have a conversation about this particular pair. Basically, we're going to talk about something that I think not a lot of people talk about, and that's essentially what happens when you have to adjust your levels or your analysis. Right? So how does that process work? What is the thought process behind it? And how do I do it? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to do it because I came across a really good example of what we talked about yesterday with pound USD and how I can adjust the actual levels today with new fresh data. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's get this started. All right. So we have pound USD here, and if you saw the video yesterday, we were talking about coming off of peak formation high here, and then basically this entire thing here, right? That entire thing being level one, and then essentially wanting to get sells because we don't want to. We're not interested in basically buying unless we get up past this 135 level, this resistance of 135, which is a pretty important level on the higher time frames. So when I was looking at this during London, it kind of gave me or sparked the idea for me to make this video on how do I adjust my analysis as new data comes in, because you're not going to be perfect to figure out where price is going. Okay, you can only do the best that you can with the data that you have. Every day a new layer reveals itself because you're getting more data as the day goes on or as the hours go on. So a real interesting thing that happened was that I started to think, as soon as we had London session where we had a false move that went down and it was a clear stop hunt that was happening, it automatically triggered in my head of like, okay, why are we getting a false move down instead of a false move up? And I started to realize and think about what was going on, or what my analysis was saying is, if we had a peak formation high here, how can I change this to where it would make logical sense to me, right? So the first thing I did is, what is the average daily range, right, of pound USD? So over the last 10 weeks, it's about 123 pips. Okay. So times 3, which is 3 times typically is what we normally see in one movement in one direction before price reverses. If we actually go ahead and we draw from the top to the bottom here, it's actually 407 7 pips, right? So we're over 3 times the average daily range on this pair. So, all right, cool. So we've made it to where we're 3 times or higher on the average daily range in one direction. How can we make that kind of work to where we understand what's going on? And so here's how we do it, or here's how I did it. Was, instead of counting this entire thing here as one level, right, you can make it smaller, because if you go up to the higher time frames, if you go up to a higher time frame, like a 12-hour time frame, this looks like all one level. You can see clearly it looks like all one level, right? All this right here, you can see goes down, comes up, comes right back down to the same point, comes right back up to the same point, and come back down. So it's ranging on a higher time frame. But how do we make sense of that to us on a smaller time frame? Well, you have to scale it and you have to count the levels smaller, right? So what I did was essentially do this. This is one level, right? You have come down, goes up, and then it breaks this structure here. You have clearly a smaller structure here, and then obviously this is another structure there. So can you get 3 levels out of it? Out of that 407 pips, can you get 3 levels out of it? Yes, you can. Right? We got 3 levels. We have peak formation, level 1, level 2, level 3, or peak formation low, whatever you want to call it. Right? So now, when we look at the next day, which was Sunday, Monday, right? Now we can start to be like, all right, well, that makes more sense on the smaller time frame, right? On the 1 hour, 15 hour, or 15-minute time frame of what we're seeing. So when we put back the days here, you can see where we had to move away from this peak low here, and then we came back and we started to move sideways. Now, look what happened yesterday during London. We had a very nice type 1 W here, stop hunt low rise, right? And we barely broke the highs of Sunday, Monday. This clearly would indicate like a level 1. Now, what concerns me is that if we still look, we still got, the 135 area here, which is a strong area of resistance. I start to think about, what does it mean for the weekly cycle then? Because we had one-way directional move on Tuesday, which is good. So what does that mean for us on Wednesday now? As far as what we could potentially look for. Well, if we start to count from this low here, from this peak formation low all the way to the top, what do we have? From the low to 135 is literally 372 pips. That's 3 times its own ADR in one direction. If price gets up to 135 again, we're going to have 3 levels of rise, right? So we would have essentially 3 levels of rise. So this would be one level here, and then this would be a second level. And then let's just say that Wednesday or even Thursday, I don't know, but let's say we have one more that peaks like this, and that'll be the 3rd level. Does that make sense? When we think about what are the potential moves, essentially. So when I look at this now, and I'm pursuing, let me just say that I think that we're not going to go past the 135, right? So if we don't want to go past the 135, what kind of options essentially does that leave us with for the weekly cycle? If we have a one-way directional move on Tuesday, potentially if we get, let's say, a spike where we test this out either Wednesday tonight or tomorrow, but we move away from this essentially gives us a midweek reversal either Wednesday or Thursday, and then that would be a market maker cycle, right? And we still make the 3 levels from peak low, 1, 2, and then 3. And then reverse, obviously. And so you got to be prepared to reanalyze what you were looking at and just be open-minded to making changes to your own analysis. Because we're not perfect. We're going to be wrong all the time. And by the way, I'm not perfect either. I'm wrong all the time. I just don't care when I'm wrong. I just make the adjustments and move on. I don't dwell or think about the past when I was wrong because I really don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect me in the past. The only thing that affects me is what happens in the future. Is every day that I get new data, if I look at it and if I need to make adjustments, I make the adjustments. No big deal. This particular day coming up, Wednesday, I want to see what kind of price action we get, what kind of reaction we get up here, right? So if we look at price action now, I want to see what happens when do we test this previous week's high. This line here is the previous week's high. So do we do this, and retest that? Do we get a midweek reversal, a pattern for midweek reversal? Or for some strange reason, do we get this, another stop hunt and a rise again? So you have to be prepared to kind of react to either type of scenario that you get. The way that this is going right now, you could have one of two things. You could get a scenario where you get this, basically this setup again, right? And that would allow you to say, hey, we're in a trending cycle for this week. And so if that's the case, obviously the likelihood of us breaking 135 is going to happen, because we just keep on creating higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, right? That's what a trend is. But if we don't do that, and if it seems like we've run into a brick wall basically at the 135 like we did previous week, then we have a pretty good shot at getting a midweek reversal either today or tomorrow, and then having a sell-off on Friday. So it could be a scenario where you have basically this, right? And you have the midweek reversal happen up here, either Wednesday or Thursday. You could get, let's say, one leg on Wednesday, another leg on Thursday, and then move down. That's also a possibility. I mean, anything is possible, right? You just have to wait for price action and let them show you what they're doing. Get the data, and then go ahead and make the adjustments when you're seeing the data develop. So that's what I'm looking at now on pound USD. So I wanted to make this video because I wanted to share with you guys the adjustments that I literally make almost every day to just some of the pairs that I watch. And as new data comes in, I just continually make adjustments. So this is something that you're going to have to do yourself. Is if you have a list of 4 or 5 pairs that you watch all the time, you know that you're making adjustments constantly as every day reveals itself with new data. So I hope that this analysis of pound USD was helpful in how I adjust and my thought process of changing levels or changing my analysis as I get new data. Okay, guys, if you need more help, let us know. We have the new mentoring class starting January 11th. Links are in the description if you need any further help with that. Thank you so much, guys, and enjoy the rest of your week.